Hi, my name is Miriam Bernabei, and I'm a volunteer here at the Greenburgh Town Hall. And it is my pleasure today to welcome my guest, Mr. Kevin Gallagher, whose beautiful artwork is currently on exhibit in the first floor gallery right here in Town Hall. So, welcome, Kevin.
Thank you. You're very kind. Thank you for saying that.
Oh, I understand you've had a career in banking for many years, but you're retired.
Right.
So, when did you start painting?
Actually, what happened was, I told you my father used to paint or draw. Mm-hmm. He did a lot of like with charcoal etchings and stuff like that. And I've always had an interest in it, but never really took tutorials or classes or anything like that. So my sister-in-laws, the two of them, would say, "Oh, look at this! Look at these pine cones! Look what they did! They did it on a mug. You could do that. You could do that." So I did stuff like that, and then I was like, you know something, I love acrylic painting, and went online and you start looking and different techniques, and just really liked it.
Did you do that after you retired, or you were doing that all along?
After I retired, obviously I had a lot more
time,
a lot more time, and it seemed like a good way to make extra money too. So. Mm-hmm. You enjoy what you're doing, and you're getting paid for it.
Right, absolutely. Did you take any classes, or it was all self-taught?
Most of it's online, and then just at the different shows, mm-hmm. just talking to other people. Mm-hmm. Like what I was telling you with the fork, with making the water looks like, people would say, if you use this brush instead, or they'd say, "What brush did you use?" And I said, "A fan brush." And they go, "Next time try a filbert brush," which is almost like a round head like that. Mm-hmm. And they said you have much more control. So just by talking to other people, right. It's like everybody helps one another out.
Yeah, that's great. Let's talk about your art that's up in the exhibit right now. So I'm sure you have a few favorites. I know I have a few favorites. Tell me which ones you'd like to share with the audience.
The fall pictures that we saw,
yeah,
I really liked those because, like I said, our backyard, it almost mimics those colors, the light green, the dark green, the orange, the yellow. So the fall pictures I really liked, and then the Lazy Susans with the ocean scenes on them. I really enjoyed doing those, and actually those sell pretty well too.
They're fabulous. So talk about, how do you make those Lazy Susans, because they're beautiful.
You could make a smaller one, but like I said, I have one at home. And just to save space, I started ordering the 15-inch ones instead of like the 10. Mm-hmm. And you can fit a lot more stuff on there. So once I had the wood, I can either go with like a spray, for example, the ocean one. Mm-hmm. I'll take a spray paint and I'll do like a dark color and then like a lighter color. Just like in the ocean, as you're coming into the beach, mm-hmm. it's dark out on the horizon. Then it's getting a little lighter, and then you have your sand. So I would do that, and I'd look and see, how does that look, and then the epoxy company, it's called Stone Coat Epoxy. Mm-hmm. They actually have all these different mica powders with all different colors. So I'd get one that almost the exact. So I'd go a dark blue, then I'd go a lighter blue, and I'd mix that in the epoxy. I'd pour it out, then I'd pour out the next color, then I'd pour out a clear color to go over the beach. Mm-hmm. And then you let it set a little bit, and you'd keep a small cup of like clear, and then they have a liquid white that you can put in and you mix up. And then I take like a popsicle stick and just like drizzle it across like that, and you put like where you want to have waves. And you can either get a heat gun, or I find a hairdryer works better. And then you just blow it until they actually start moving, and it looks like waves coming into the beach. So.
Yeah, it's fabulous. And I bet you were telling me also about another kind of substance that you would put on it so that you could actually cut on it and use it as a cutting board.
Right. They have, it's called a finishing coat that can go on top of the epoxy. Normally you'd let the epoxy dry for 24 hours, and then just to be safe, to really harden up after 2 days, then you can go back. And this final coat, the epoxy is a mixture 1-to-1. This is 2-to-1. And what you have to do is mix it 2-to-1, and take like a small roller and you go over it with the wet, and then you only have like about 20 minutes to work with this. After that, you take a dry one and you go back over, and it actually gives it like a textured look, so you can tell after you do this final step that it's been done. And the company actually took one that they did, a countertop, and they took a nail and they were scratching on it. Didn't make a scratch.
Wow.
I mean, that's how durable this stuff is.
I could see those will make great holiday presents. if
Yeah,
you
yeah.
Sell them.
It's an extra step, but it really preserves it nicely. It really does.
That's wonderful. Now you also have photographs in this exhibit. So tell me about your photographic journey. When did you start doing that?
The phone that I have now, some of the pictures that come out of there, they're unbelievable. I mean, so like baseball games or stuff like that. Your son's up and you want to get a nice picture of him. And then I really started getting into it down the shore, where I'd be up early anyway, and I'd walk out, and it's so peaceful, and the sun's coming up, and the seagrass is like going back and forth. So I would take pictures of that. Seagulls. One time that I didn't have my phone with me, I'm out there and I'm looking, and a whale comes up, and he breaches, and he comes up, and he comes down, and I reach for my phone, and I was like, oh my God.
Wow.
Left it home. But the phones are unbelievable, the pictures that you can get these days.
Yeah.
And the glass ones that are down there now, there's a company that you send them that. You tell them the size that you want. You can have it either framed, or the ones downstairs, it's like a black mat in the back, and then they just give you one screw to hang, and a couple of other pieces, about the size of a square like that you can put on it, and it also adheres to the wall. And when you take it off, it won't, pull the sheetrock off with it.
Do you manipulate? Do you use? I don't know what you call it, but things on the phone where you manipulate the photograph, or you just use it
because
just as you see it?
A lot of times when you're taking pictures of the sun, you'll get like this little dot, but there's a way, just fiddling around with it, you go in, you hit edit, and you click on, I don't know if it was contrast or what do you want to change, and then you hit one button, and it'll like circle what you want taken out, take it out, and then you look at it, and it's gone. I mean, it still looks nice with the other little dot in there.
Right.
But I think other people, they want a nice clear picture. So that's a way to do that.
Cool. So, in terms of your inspirations, like, were you inspired? You're inspired by nature, or how do you get your ideas and make them?
I think, by nature, the different seasons, the ocean, people showing me things, that I wouldn't even think of doing, and they'd say, you should try doing that, or, this is what's really selling, or the other day somebody took a pine cone, and they took a pair of pliers, and they pulled out each individual piece of the pine cone and lined them all up, and then they took a regular can, and took like brown burlap, wrapped it around that, and then they started gluing the individual little pieces on, did like a nice bow on the top, and put in like nice Christmas flowers in it, and it really looked beautiful.
Beautiful,
and stuff like that.
Very cool. What do you want people to walk away with when they see your art? What do you want them to feel? What do you want them to take away?
At a couple of the shows, even though they didn't buy it, they'd walk up and they're looking, and they go, "You did this?" And I said, "Yeah." And their head starts to shake, and they go, "Beautiful, beautiful." I mean, when you hear something like that, when somebody says something about your work, you're like, "Oh,
right.
Thank you."
Yeah, that's wonderful. Now, you were saying you sell your work, so tell me about the business of selling art.
I've had most success at these small shows. I've done a couple down in New Jersey. Around Christmas time, it's huge down there. What sold good down there, I had a whole bunch of shells that I drew like snowmen's heads on with the carrot nose, and the snow coming around. The sand dollars, I spray painted them white, put like gold sparkles on them, and then my wife Cindy, she had a good idea. She goes, "These ribbons are beautiful." It would, something you'd wrap like a Christmas present with, either like a gold one or a silver one. And there's one piece in the silver, the sea dollar, where you can go through it and just make a knot. And people were buying them to hang on their trees.
Nice.
So,
yeah. Well, what about, do you have a website or a Facebook page or any of that stuff?
I do, and that's downstairs. I don't have that memorized. It's also, the other day I was looking on Facebook, and there's a place called Marketplace, and I looked and I was like, whoa. I mean, they're selling everything. So I took 2 pictures. I have one of those Lazy Susans, but it's a black granite, and another one, it's called Baltic granite. And I put those out there, and people are looking at it, but so far, no buys.
All right.
But most of the sales are through like the shows that go on.
So what advice would you give somebody who wants to do this when they retire, like you?
Well, first of all, I think it's a great hobby. In many ways, like the epoxy is very expensive. A lot of the acrylic paints, if you wait for sales or you'll find, like I was telling you, one painting I did with Q-tips, another one I did with a fork. There's stuff at home that you can use, or listening to people saying, if you want to stretch that out, mix it a little or use a little bit more water. It's very satisfying. And like I said, one of the nicest things is somebody comes to one of your shows and they're like, wow, nice work. Really did a nice job.
I think that leads me to my last question. I call it my signature question because it's what I ask all the artists who come through. How do you define success in the arts for yourself?
Definitely not monetary, although that's a side benefit. I think people saying, asking, how did you do that? How did you make those colors? Or that's really nice. I really appreciate you doing that.
Sure.
The little pat on the back that everyone gives you so often,
right.
it makes you want to do more. Right. So it's just nice that people appreciate what you're doing.
Well, they should appreciate it because it's beautiful, really
Thanks
beautiful
stuff. Thanks so much.
stuff.
I really appreciate it.
And I thank you for coming.
Thank you very much for having me.
And I want to thank, a big thank you to, of course, Paul Feiner and Sarah Bracy White, who was the curator for this exhibit and all the exhibits around Greenburgh, and to the television department, Janelle Wallace, and our videographer, Terrence Brosnan. And please come and visit the gallery. It is up through the end of October, so you have some time. It's beautiful. You won't be sorry.